Chapter 1. The Hendrix Experience. Jimi Hendrix was my biggest influence growing up, and on September 18th, 1970, the day that Jimi died, I was crushed, for reasons I can't fully explain. It's impossible to go back in my mind to that moment as a teenager. Even now I can't quite say what happened in my head, but I know that because he died, I decided to become a guitar player. That moment of decision was immediate and profound. It changed my life and everything about me. That same day I quit the football team and announced to my coach that I was going to become a musician. At home that night I told my family I had decided what I was going to do with my life. Be a professional guitar player. After all the dust settled at the dinner table, my sister Carol offered to donate her first paycheck from working as an art teacher at the local high school to buy me an electric guitar, which speaks to the extremely supportive and musically inclined family I came from. When I was growing up, my mom would spin classical music records as we played, with the intent of educating us, but the music she and my dad listened to was jazz. Mom would play the most popular classics, so we heard Mozart, Beethoven, Wagner, Puccini, all the usual suspects. Then we would hear Miles Davis and John Coltrane, all the way to Dave Brubeck, and later on, Stanley Turrentine and Freddie Hubbard, when the 70s began. She was also a big Wes Montgomery fan. I think she had all his records, so we listened to him, too. My dad was a bit more big bandish, but he listened to all styles of music throughout his life. He would tell me great stories about going to see all the great swing bands for a nickel as a kid growing up in New York City. He said he'd walk into these places, and it would be free half the time. You could get a beer for a nickel and watch the greatest big bands of all time. When my parents hosted parties, they would spin all kinds of music and dance to all of it. They were both very open-minded and progressive in their appreciation of music. Being the youngest kid in the house, I grew up listening to what my older sisters and brother listened to, so that's how I heard early rock and roll, Motown, and all the pop music that was around. Then, during the mid-'60s, when rock really started to become a thing, they brought that home. And as a little kid, I was exposed to all of it. In 1966, when the first straight-ahead rock albums were being released by the bands who used to play pop, I was on the verge of turning 10. And being 10 years old in the mid-'60s was a lot younger than being 10 years old today. There was no internet or anything like it. So my only new music influences were what was on the radio and the music my siblings were bringing home. I think the first time I connected with music was when we were on a summer vacation up in Vermont, and my sisters were going to a dance. So they let me stand inside the door of the dance hall for like half a minute, and I may be 8 or 9 years old, and when I heard this band playing I Can't Get No Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones, it was a life-changing moment. It was the best feeling and best sounding thing I'd ever experienced in my life. That feeling never left me. I think when I started to see the Beatles and the Stones on the Ed Sullivan Show, that sort of awakened my desire to play drums. So that's how I started out on drums. There was a piano in the house that my mom played jazz standards on. My 3 sisters struggled unsuccessfully with piano lessons, but my brother and I were somehow given a free pass. We never had to suffer through that. I think they had just given up on forcing us to take music lessons. Once I started playing drums at 9, I took lessons for a year or so. But that was really my whole musical education at that point. I was basically left to my own devices. I remember quite clearly the first time I heard Jimi Hendrix, The Who, Led Zeppelin. These were the bands that my sisters were listening to. Their boyfriends would bring albums over, and they would get a kick out of the fact that I, just this little kid, had an appetite for this new music. I guess they thought it was cool, so they would say, "Hey, look at this! Jimi Hendrix, when he plays this part." I think it was on Electric Ladyland. "No one knows how he does it." I'd listen to it obsessively. As my sisters would stop listening to their old 45s and LPs, they would pass them on to me. I also inherited a portable record player.
To keep listening to this audiobook for free, click the link in the description. It will take you to a free Audible trial where you can listen to this and many other books for free for 30 days.